Every generation, I suppose, sees the time in which they live as being exceptional. The truth of the matter is, you do live in a most exceptional time in the history of mankind. You young people will see events transpire which were promised from the beginning of the world. Prophets of old have seen your days and rejoiced in them. And yet you will face challenges and circumstances, the severity of which has been unparalleled in generations past. For this, you must be prepared. Today I speak to you about the times in which you live and about the quality of faith you will need to survive some of the difficulties yet to be experienced. I speak of one who loves you and has been given a responsibility with my brethren to testify and warn about the impending crises facing mankind. Yes, I speak to you to the topic, prepare yourselves for the great day of the Lord. So today I shall quote liberally from the words of the Lord to our dispensation, in order that you will have from the Lord himself guidance on future prophecy. During the last week of the Lord's mortal life, he was privately approached on the Mount of Olives by his disciples. They asked him two questions. The first of which was, "Tell us, when shall these things be, which thou hast said concerning the destruction of the temple and the Jews?" The basis for their earnest inquiry was a prophecy of Jesus that had left even the disciples stunned. While standing in the temple precincts, Jesus had declared, quote, "There shall not be left here upon this temple one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." At 37 years later, when the Romans invaded Jerusalem, that prophecy was literally fulfilled. It is said that after Roman soldiers burned the temple, they dug up the foundation stones in the hopes of finding a treasure buried there. The Savior also prophesied concerning the fate of the Jewish nation. Quote, "This people shall be destroyed and scattered among all nations. And it shall come to pass that this generation of Jews shall not pass away until every desolation which I have told you concerning them shall come to pass." Unquote. That desolation came as predicted. In 66 AD, the Jews rebelled against horrible sieges, one of the most horrible sieges in history. During that time, it was estimated that over 1 million Jews were killed, and 97,000 were taken captive and sold as slaves. Thus you see, in just 4 decades following the crucifixion, the nation, the city, and the temple were all destroyed. As one modern historian has recorded, the destruction of the temple marked the end of the Jewish state. Judea was almost shorn of Jews, and those that remained lived on the edge of starvation. The prophecy of Jesus was sure and certain. "This people shall be destroyed," he said, "and scattered among all nations." A lesson drawn from the Jewish catastrophe and applicable to our times was given by the Lord himself in modern revelation. Quote, "My word shall not pass away, but shall all be fulfilled." Unquote. The second question asked by the disciples on the Mount of Olives, and the one pertinent to our time, was, "What is the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world, or the destruction of the wicked, which is the end of the world?" The Lord has designated these days in which we live as the times of the Gentiles. The Gentile nations are the so-called Christian nations, North and South America, and the European nations from which many of us came. The times of the Gentiles refers to the period of time extending from when the gospel was restored to the world, 1830, to when the gospel will again be preached to the Jews after the Gentiles have rejected it. This is how the Lord explained it. Quote, "And when the times of the Gentiles has come in, a light shall break forth among them that sit in darkness, and it shall be the fullness of my gospel." But we will know when the times of the Gentiles are approaching fulfillment by these signs. "And in that day," continuing, "shall be heard of wars and rumors of wars, and the whole earth shall be in commotion. Men's hearts shall fail them, and they shall say that Christ delayeth his coming until the end of the earth. And the love of men shall wax cold, and iniquity shall abound. And again this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come, or the destruction of the wicked." Unquote. Are we not witnessing the fulfillment of these signs today? Atheism, agnosticism, immorality, and dishonesty are flaunted in our society. Desertions, cruelty, divorce, and infidelity have become commonplace, leading to the disintegration of the family. Today we live in the times of which the Savior spoke, when the love of men, as he said, shall wax cold. The rejection of the testimony of the servants of God by the nations of the world will bring the consequence of greater calamities, for the Lord himself declared, quote, "For after your testimony cometh the testimony of earthquakes, that shall cause groanings in the midst of her. And men shall fall upon the ground, and shall not be able to stand. And also cometh the testimony of the voice of thunderings, and the voice of lightnings, and the voice of tempests, and the voice of the waves of the sea, heaving themselves beyond their bounds. And there shall be men standing in that generation that shall not pass until they shall see an overflowing scourge, for a desolating sickness shall cover the land. But my disciples shall stand in holy places, and shall not be moved,